I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 190, Resolutions. Hello, my lady. If you have a spouse that is struggling with a pornography problem, then you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn, and I am a life coach, a member of the LDS faith, and the wife of a former porn addict. And in this podcast, I am going to teach you how to change the way that you are affected by your husband's choices. We can't change him, but what we can do is change the way that you respond when he makes the decisions that he does. I'm going to teach you how to manage your brain, how to process all of the emotions that seem so overwhelming to you so that you can finally live a life where you aren't living in fear of triggers and relapses. And by learning how to manage your mind and process your emotions, you are no longer going to be running on an emotional roller coaster, but you are going to start feeling so much more in control of your life no matter what your husband is doing. And I'm going to teach you all of that on this podcast. I can't wait to get started with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. I promise you, you're in the right place. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I hope you guys had a wonderful, very, very Merry Christmas. It is New Year's Eve. I love New Year's Eve. I very rarely stay up till midnight though. I am an early bed type of person. So usually what we do with our kids is we celebrate New Year's Eve at, 6:30 and do a countdown, 7:30. And we do those little popper things and confetti and those streamer things, or you blow into them and they make that high-pitched noise. And anyway, we do the whole thing and it's so fun. And I always do New Year's resolutions with my kids, and I just keep track of them on my phone. And so we'll have lots of conversations about things they want to work on and what they want to do next year that's different. And that is what we are doing today. I'm very excited. And I even do it for the adults. So I have notes on my phone going back several years with my twin sister and her husband, and then my husband and myself, and all the resolutions and the goals that we have every year. And I love it. I love just reflecting on what has happened over the last year and what I want to do differently, or what I'm hoping will be different, or things that I want to focus on that are different. And it's always fascinating to me to look back and see what the year has been like, what I thought it would be like, and then what it actually ended up being like. I think it's so fun. Now, I know not everybody feels that way. So I wanted to let you guys know that if you this is something I was talking to my clients about on a coaching call the other day. We were talking about goals, and I just said, hey ladies, if anybody has a New Year's resolution or a goal or something that they're working on or want to work on next year and they want to get coached on it, let me know. And several of them got coached on it on that call. And there's weight loss, and there's family relations, and there's career aspirations, and relationships with their kids, and relationships with God, and so many of them feel like they keep setting the same goal every year. And so as I started coaching, I decided, based off popular opinion, that this month inside my coaching program, I'm going to be teaching a masterclass on goals, on how to set them, on how to think about them in a way that actually makes them achievable, the relationship that you have with your goals, and help my clients actually set them and figure out why they want them and make sure they're really clear on what it is they want and how they want to do it, and get down into the nitty-gritty of it. So if you want to come join us for that, just go ahead and sign up for my coaching program, because that is what we are going to be doing. I don't have a date on that yet. It'll be toward the end of this month. So you have all of January to join. And even if you are joining afterward, it's all recorded and you will have access to it. So if you join my program, then you will be able to join, and I will help you not only learn how to have a positive relationship with goals so that you can actually achieve them, but then help you decide what goals you would like to strive for. And that's what we're going to be doing this month. Again, inside my program, I'm going to be doing a goals masterclass, and I'd love to have you there. So you can join on my website. Go to jolenewynn.com and you can sign up today and you can join us. Okay. Now, I know it seems a little cliche. Is that the word? Cliche? I don't know. Predictable, whatever, to have a podcast that's coming out on January 1st to be about resolutions, but I couldn't help myself. I mean, I could, but I didn't want to. I really wanted to talk to you guys about resolutions because as I started thinking about it again, I love this time of year, but I got really curious about the word resolution, okay? And I wanted to talk to you guys about this word and about how this might help you change how you're thinking about your resolutions, how you're thinking about the next year, and how it could actually have a positive impact. And again, this is just a little piece of what I'll be doing in the Goals Masterclass. Now, resolution is a word that has a Latin root, which I don't speak Latin, okay? So if I pronounce this wrong, my apologies, okay? But the Latin root is resolvere, which means to loosen or release. And this was so fascinating to me when I looked this up and I started diving into this, because most of us don't think of resolutions that way. Because our typical definition that we use for resolution, the way we use it now, is that it's a noun and it's a firm decision to do or not do something, right? So usually we're doing it in kind of an action, in a forward momentum idea, right? It's like, okay, I am determined. It's a firm decision to do or not do something. And that's how we typically think about our New Year's resolutions, right? What am I going to do this year? What am I not going to do this year? I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm going to start exercising 3 times a week. I'm going to call my mom once a month, whatever it is. I'm thinking of all the ones I wrote down. I'm going to write in my journal every week. I'm going to read my scriptures every day. Like all the things that I put year after year after year, right? And those are how we think of resolutions. We think of them as a decision, a firm decision. We are determined to do something. And yet, when we actually go to the root word, it's not about doing something like that. It's not the decision to do something. It's actually about letting things go. It's about loosening. It's about releasing. And the only way that we can do that with our New Year's resolutions is if we release the attachment of why we want it in the first place. If you guys haven't listened to it yet, there's a podcast episode that I did. I don't know what number it is, but it's called Transformational versus Transactional Relationships. Go back and listen to that one after this, and this will start, but keep this in mind as you're listening to it, and it'll start to make a lot more sense, okay? When we release the attachment that we have to whatever goal we're setting, that is when we're actually able to achieve it. Typically, when we think of a resolution, right, again, we're thinking of it as a firm decision to do something or not do something. Okay, let's just take weight loss, for example, because that's the one we always all set, right? Okay, I want to lose, my decision, my resolution this year is to lose 30 pounds, okay? Same one as last year and the year before. This year I'm going to do it, okay? That's my firm decision to do something. Now, the reason that I always do what we do, right, the reason that we take action or don't take action, again, is because of how we feel, right? If you think of the model, the self-coaching model that I'm always talking about, goes circumstances, and then we have our thoughts, and our thoughts are what create our feelings, and our feelings are what drive all of our actions. And then the actions that we take and don't take are what create the results that we have in our life, right? You guys with me? So the actions, right? I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this. That's the decision that we make. And then from that decision, because of that decision, which is a thought, we feel a certain way and we take a certain amount of action, right? Typically what happens with our resolutions, the reason that they all peter off in February and March is because we are relying on willpower. We aren't actually changing from the inside out. What we're trying to do is change from the outside in. And that's when we haven't really taken a look at why we are so attached to that goal in the first place. Why do I really want to lose 30 pounds? Well, it's most of the time because I don't feel good how I am right now, and I think that losing 30 pounds is going to make me feel better. But when you lose the weight, that's just changing the circumstance. Your weight, how much you weigh on a scale, is a circumstance, and then it's your thoughts about it that actually produce your emotions. And it's not until you do that internal work that you're actually going to feel better. And guess what, ladies? That internal work is possible even if you don't lose the weight. It's not until we release, it's not until we loosen our attachment to the result that we're actually able to create it, because we are actually allowing ourselves to enjoy the journey. Okay, when I talk about this in the transformational sense, what I'm saying is that you can have a goal and not be attached to it. Typically, where we attach it is to our identity. We make it mean something about ourselves if we are able to achieve the goal that we set. If we don't set goals, maybe we make that mean something about ourselves. With the weight loss example, we make it mean something about ourselves if we don't lose the weight. If we stay at this weight for the rest of our lives, we make it mean something about ourselves if we do lose the weight. People at that weight, right? It's like we might have a judgment that it's admirable, then I did something admirable. Or if I don't set goals, then that means I'm not a motivated person. Or if I do set goals and I don't achieve them, then that means that I'm incapable of achieving things. I'm not disciplined enough to do it. That I'm not capable of keeping my word to myself, right? We make it mean something whether we set goals or don't, or whether we achieve them or we don't. And that's partly the problem, is because we take that on as part of our identity. That's where we attach to that goal. Does this make sense? You guys with me? So look at when you're making New Year's resolutions. And again, ladies, I'm going to do this in my masterclass. If you want help, I'll help you. But look at where you're attaching to those goals, where in your identity you are attaching who you are to whether or not you set them or the goals that you set specifically, okay? And what I want to offer is that we go back to the original root of resolution, and instead we loosen the attachment. We actually release it and we say, whether or not I achieve this is irrelevant. But I'm going to set this out there because it seems like that's the best version of me, because I want to pursue growth, because I want to pursue achievement, because I want to pursue the best version of myself. And because I want to do that, I feel like this is a great way to go. And the best version of myself takes care of herself physically. The best version of myself takes care of herself mentally and emotionally and prioritizes her own health, right? And that version of me says it's easy. That version of me starts to take care of herself in a different way. Maybe it's not going to yoga class every single day. Maybe instead it's moving as much as possible. Maybe instead it's finding a form of exercise that she enjoys, right? Maybe it's deciding to become, a person who acts differently, who thinks about food differently, has a different relationship with her body, who thinks about and feels about her body in a different way. And that's when we're able to detach or release from the end result. But you're much more likely to get it because rather than just trying to willpower your way in order to get to the end so that you feel better about yourself, instead what you do is you actually become a different person along the way, along the journey. And when you become a different person along the way, then the end result doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter if you hit the goal or not. But because you become a different person along the way, you become the person who takes care of herself and prioritizes herself, then you're much more likely to get there. You're not fighting against yourself the entire way. But again, that only comes if you're able to detach from the result. When you hold on to the result, that's when we get graspy, that's when we get needy, that's when we get frustrated, when things aren't going the way that we think they should, or they're not happening as fast as we think that they should. That's one of the biggest things that I think prevents us from actually accomplishing our goals, is when we have an attachment to our identity, like I said, or an attachment to time. We are the ones who put ourselves in a time frame. Always. We're the ones that were like, okay, well, I want to lose 30 pounds by June, or I want to do it in the next year, right? We often attach to time because we are unwilling to have it take longer than we want because of how we feel right now. This makes sense? It's like, well, I don't want this to take longer than 3 months. I want to lose 30 pounds tomorrow because it's so uncomfortable where I am. But again, the discomfort you're feeling, ladies, is from your thoughts, not from the number on the scale. And if you're willing to take a look inward and adjust the way that you're thinking and feeling and process all of that, then it's unnecessary to keep the timeline. Then there is no timer that is set. One of the biggest things that I coach women on with weight loss, and I know I'm talking a lot about weight loss, but it's one of the things that always comes up in January, is what if, it's like, great, I'm all for you losing 30 pounds. And they're like, okay, how soon do you want to do it? Okay, I want to do it in 6 months. What if it took you a year? What if it took you 2 years? Would you still be willing to do it if it took you 5? And it's such an interesting question. Not that it has to take you that long, but notice the attachment that we have to time. So many of us just cringe, like physically cringe, because we want it to happen faster. We are in a rush to get to the goal, to get to what we think is the end because of what we make it mean about ourselves, or because of how we think we will feel when we get there. Right? And when we can detach that, when we can release that and loosen it, that is when we are much more likely to actually take the action necessary in order to get there. And that's when we allow ourselves to change along the way. And if we change along the way, then it doesn't even matter if we get to the end result. Does this make sense? You guys with me? If you look up the word resolve, so I just talked about the word resolution. Resolve is a variation of that word, right? And one of the definitions of resolve is, this is a verb. So this is the difference, right? Resolution is a noun, okay? But resolve is a verb, okay? Is to settle or find a solution to a problem, a dispute, or a contentious matter. So if you think about yourself, if you think about something that is creating contention inside of you, that's typically where we want to create a resolution around. That's what we're trying to resolve with our resolution, okay? With the goal that we set, what we're trying to do most of the time is we are trying to ease the cognitive dissonance or contention that's going on internally. Okay, so maybe we have an idea of what we should be or what we should look like or things we should be doing, and we're aware that we're not doing those. And that's the contention. That's something that needs to be resolved. There's an inner conflict, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a conflict. It probably feels more like discomfort. There's an inner discomfort between our reality and our desire. Does this make sense? So think about it. If you think about goals that you've set in the past, again, it could be weight loss. It could be a spiritual goal, right? There might be, okay, I don't feel as close to God as I used to. So that's the contention. That's the cognitive dissonance. It's, I'm here and I'm aware of that, but I want to be here. Does this make sense? I want to be there. I'm here. I want to be there. That's the contention. And that's what we're trying to resolve. And what our brain wants to do is say, okay, if I set a goal, something that is outside of me, and then I start taking action toward that, that's going to be the thing that resolves the internal conflict. Ladies, that is doing it backwards. I did a podcast episode called Be, Do, Have. And you can go listen to that. It's the same thing. And this is exactly what I talk about in my book. My book is called The Not Enough Wife. It's called Why We Look Outside Ourselves and How to Stop. We always look outside ourselves. We're trying to fix everything externally in order to resolve what's actually an internal problem. And it's not even a problem, but it's just what we need to become aware of, right? We set these goals because there is an internal conflict, a cognitive dissonance between where we are and where we want to be. And that's what we're trying to solve by setting a goal. We think, okay, if I hit this goal, then I will feel better internally. It's the same thing with your husband's pornography problem, right? It's like, okay, if I just change my circumstance, then that will solve what's going on internally. If we have more sex, if my husband stops watching porn, then I will feel better. No, the reason you don't feel better right now is because of your thoughts and your feelings. And your brain, bless its heart, is trying to solve it by something outside of you, by losing the weight, by changing the job, by changing your habits, by cleaning out your fridge, by getting more organized in your closet. And none of those are bad things to do. But when you're trying to do those in the hopes that that will resolve what's going on internally, you will always be disappointed, even if you achieve whatever the goal is. You will have a momentary, very limited, very temporary, little upswing in pride and be like, yes, I did that thing. But it's not going to be the thing that permanently resolves the conflict that's within you. Does this make sense? So as you guys are looking at the things that you want to change from about next year, the things you want to work on, I want you to notice that it's all going to be based off of an internal conflict. And if you actually want to change that, the solution is not going to be by setting the same goal that you've set for the last 5 years, or even coming up with a new one, or even, for those of you who don't set goals, just saying I don't want to set goals, because I did that for years, ladies. I had a horrible relationship with goals. I was very attached to whether or not I achieved them. And this was actually my New Year's resolution a couple years ago. It was to set goals. It was like, all right, I've had a terrible relationship with goals. I need to learn how to set them. But I had avoided it for years because I made it mean so much about me if I didn't achieve them. Or I would be really sneaky. Maybe you guys, I don't know, maybe I'm just the only one that did this. But I would set goals that I was like actually already doing. I was like, I'm going to work out every day. Okay, well, I've been achieving that since I graduated from high school. Okay, that was something I worked on a long time ago. It's not hard for me anymore. But it's kind of like a sneaky, oh yeah, here, look, I'm always going to do that. That's not a problem. So let me write that down so I feel better about myself, right? It's like when you make a to-do list and you actually write down things you've already done just so that you can check it off, okay? That's not a real goal, okay? But what I was trying to do was feel better about myself. And so I would just set goals I've already done so that I could feel better. It wasn't actually resolving anything internally for me. It was just a nice little show, okay? So as you guys are thinking about all of this, then I want you to take a look inward. Whether you set goals, whether you don't, look at the reason why. There is some kind of internal conflict. There is an awareness of where you are versus where you want to be. And that creates a dissonance, right? And I've been looking at that for myself as I think about this year. Maybe you come up, instead of goals, maybe you come up with a word. So many people that I know come up with a word for the year, and that's what they focus on. Or a feeling. Maybe there's a feeling that you want to embody for the rest of the year. And all of these are beautiful ideas, but I want to get really curious as to why. Why is that? And what is this internal dissonance that you're trying to resolve externally? And if you are trying to do it externally, then I want to offer that we do it in reverse. The only way that you're actually going to be able to hit those goals is if you do it in reverse, if you do it from the inside out. And then if you do it from the inside out, then the goals don't even matter. You will naturally do the things that you want to do. You will achieve the things you want to achieve, because once you resolve it internally, it changes who you are. It changes who you've become. And when you change who you've become, then you are the person who takes the action that creates the result. Does that make sense, ladies? You can listen to this podcast episode as many times as you need to, okay? Listen to it over and over, because there are so many things that are waiting for you. As I talked to my husband just before I recorded this, and I was talking to him about, what do I want to do this year? What's my goals? What do I want to do? And I was talking to my sister a couple days ago about kind of a word. I don't always have a word, but I was just kind of thinking of what I want to do. And I told him, I said, I always have my deep drive that drives everything that I do is to become the best version of myself. I figured that out in college when unknowingly I was participating in a coaching session, basically with my ROTC instructor. And we got to that root. I was like, I want to become the best version of myself. But I realized today that the best version of myself is only possible through Christ. That's it. And I have been kind of leaving him out unintentionally and just trying to do it all myself. And so I really think that that's going to be the mantra or focus of my year of 2024, is to become the best version of myself with Christ, to bring him along with me, to include him more in my life, to submit to him more often, to say yes to things that I feel like he's leading me to, even when I feel unprepared. I mean, that's how I started my business program, ladies, that I'm starting this month, is because I feel like God was like, hey, Jolene, this is what you need to do. This is what's next. And it was not on my radar. And I was like, all right, here we go. I feel like this is where we're going. And there have been so many things that I feel like I've let go. And I talked about that on the podcast a couple weeks ago about letting go. And I just feel like I've been led in a certain direction. And I am trying this year, my focus will be to become the best version of myself that I possibly can be with Christ. Not to leave him out, but to actually make him the forefront. Not in a way that says I'm not going to make any decisions and I want God to make them for me, but to walk with him and have faith in him. And as I was thinking about the word, I was talking to my sister the other day, if I was thinking about the word that I wanted to use, letting go has been a huge one, but I really feel like that has been this last year. And especially the last couple of months has been learning to let go. And again, I talked about that on the podcast a couple weeks ago. And now I just feel like the word for my year for 2024 is go. Like, it's time, ladies. You have been learning and absorbing and all of the things long enough. It is time to take action. It is time to pursue. It is time to go forward. That's the name of my program. Did you guys know that? I named my program Go Forward. And my word for this year, I really feel like, is go. It's like, it's time to start moving. It's time to be done with the self-doubt and the self-pity and the fear. It's time to be done with the drama. It's time to be done with all of the things that are holding me back, which are just all internal. And I don't need goals. I don't need a specific goal in order to resolve that. What I need to do instead is to create an internal resolution and solve everything internally, which I feel like, I really have done this last year. Everything that we've faced, everything that we've gone through, all the growth that I've done has all been internal. And now I'm ready to go, to explode, to do the things that I am ready to do and the things that I'm not. I am so excited. It is time for me to just start moving. And I want to invite you guys to do the same, because you have had enough stagnant years. You have had enough years of pain and absorbing all of the things. And now it's time for you to move forward. It's time to go forward, ladies. It's time to take action. It is time to see different results in your life. And that starts internally. Letting go, detaching, releasing, resolving what's internally at a conflict. And that's when everything in your life will change. I love you, ladies. Cheers to 2024. I think it's going to be the best one yet. I love you, ladies. I'll see you next week. Take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, jolenewind.com. You will find all the information there, and you can sign up today, and we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.